I love World of Warcraft and already made plenty of costumes and props from the game. You might still remember my massive bulbous hammer, or also Void Mommy Xal'atath, which I made last year. She's one of my favorite costumes I've ever made and I'm very proud of that. But did you know that Xal'atath and her essence was actually once imprisoned in a legendary artifact weapon called
Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire.
And this is actually the reason why she's unofficially called the Naifu Waifu. And after I made the waifu last year with my cosplay, I thought now I should also make the Naifu. And in addition to that, it's actually winter, I'm kind of bored, and I found like just there an empty spot in my workshop. And so I thought it's finally time to craft
Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire.
But let's see if it will suck in my soul as well. And yeah, let's start crafting. As always, Benny started by drawing me a blueprint in Adobe Illustrator, this time using the Wowhead model viewer as a reference. Luckily, it also has a pretty handy tool to figure out the right size. Now, if I compared myself to one of the in-game human models, the weapon should be around 80 centimeters long. However, scaling it down to 60 just felt more natural to me. Don't get confused with my reference though, as the model on Wowhead as well as the official Hearthstone artwork are actually wrong. The eye should actually always be on the outside when holding it in your right hand, so it's mirrored here. But why? Well, in World of Warcraft, only Shadow Priests can equip
Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire.
And as casters, unlike other classes, they can hold the main hand only in the right hand. Obviously, because in the left hand, they have like books and magical stuffs in their head. So only the right version of Xal'atath can actually exist. Obviously, with the eye on the right side and not on the left side. So everything else is actually wrong. And trust me, I'm playing World of Warcraft already since 2005 with a combined playtime of over 400 days, which is almost 10,000 hours. And to me, this seemed pretty obvious. And I wonder, shouldn't Blizzard would put actually the wrong version onto their official Hearthstone card? No better? Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Disappointed!
Anyway, instead of 3D printing everything, we are going to build it out of good old EVA foam. So first, I separated my blueprint and began tracing a bunch of layers onto 10mm high density foam. This material is just less wobbly and, in my opinion, better for prop making. And as you can see, I cut out everything by hand. But then I was like, wait, don't I have a lazy husband and a laser cutter? So I just told Benny what to do and he cut out the rest of the pieces with our laser cutter. Same step, same materials, but simply much faster and less work for me. Yay! Now, as always, I used contact cement to glue everything together. All the foam, glue and also the primer later are from Cosplay Shop BE, by the way. Also notice this extra gap for the upcoming electronics. Now onto the most annoying part, sanding the base into shape. To speed up this step, I first carved away most of the material and as you can see, it's a lot. Yes, this would have been all foam dust. Safety first, and then I dremeled the crap out of this foam. Gosh, this step always takes forever and I seriously hate it, but the result is always so satisfying. Luckily, the grip was a little bit easier to accomplish. I covered a PVC pipe in 2mm foam, added some thicker highlights at both ends and glued it simply in. Yes, it actually holds pretty well. Next up, LEDs. I used here a digital RGB LED strip which can be easily separated. Just had to solder on some wires here and there and simply glued them onto the foam afterwards. For the round area, I used those super handy LED rings. Wiring them is a tiny bit more complicated though. A CircuitPython chip for the animation, some cables and a switch here and there and everything lit up. By the way, I highly recommend to protect your soldering joints with hot glue if you create something similar. And finally, for diffusion, I used 10mm LED foam. As you can see, it makes a huge difference, especially with the final look of the runes. The foam can be also pretty easily heat shaped and was perfect to create the round eye of the blade. Adding the last details though meant also more Dremel work for me. This project was luckily pretty straightforward though, and I always really enjoy bringing something to life with EVA foam. These are all simple foam sheets at the beginning, but with some imagination, passion and especially a lot of foam dust, it's possible to create something magical with relatively simple tools and materials. And no, I don't count in my laser cutter, as you can also create all of that by hand, as you saw at the beginning of the video. A step I really enjoy as well is finally adding all the details. I have a ton of different foam doubles, which are handy for all kinds of projects. A triangle-shaped one was perfect to create the edges around the runes, for example. I really tried to recreate every single pixel of the 3D model from Wowhead, and layer by layer, piece by piece,
Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire,
was slowly coming to life. The spikes needed a little bit more patience and creativity though. I stacked several 10mm layers, carved them into shape and dremeled the surface nice and smooth afterwards. And don't worry, I'm always very careful with my fingers, even though it might not look like that. By the way, while watching all of this, which technique do you prefer and why? 3D printing or EVA foam? Both are fun to explore, but I would love to hear your favorite in the comments. Finally, last rivets, spikes, lines and other details were added. You might want to stop here, but
Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire,
is an ancient vessel of power, so I also had to dremel in a good amount of scratches and battle damage for a weathered look. Then some heat sealing to get rid of the tiny foam lints, and finally, after 3 days of work, the foam build was done. Ta-da! And at this point, a short message from our sponsor. Cosplay and crafting is a super fun and amazing hobby, but can be sometimes a little bit intimidating, especially if you want to get started. But oh, what a coincidence! I actually already wrote plenty of cosplay crafting books. For example, this one shows you how to make amazing props and swords and axes out of simple EVA foam, and this book here actually shows you how to get started with airbrush painting and create amazing paint jobs for your weapons and that weathering and stuff. You can find my books as digital versions or these really nice printed editions, and in addition to that, if you also struggle with like your patterns or whatever, we also have over 200 digital patterns where you can actually create really nice hats or helmets and bracers and breastplates and basically everything. Just download it and start crafting. And you can find everything on CarmelCosplay.com or on Etsy. Thank you very much for your support. To prepare the surface for the upcoming paint job, I applied around 5 to 6 layers of Flex Bond primer next. Nice and smooth. Now let's check out the references again. Picking the right colors was crucial here, and please appreciate my wonderful airbrush paint organization. It's super important to test all paints first on a piece of paper, by the way. Then the painting fun could begin. Benny first applied a super thin layer of blue onto the translucent areas. He usually goes from light to dark, so he added the shadows at the end. Spray varnish on top helps to protect this delicate paint layer for the next step. Taping off all the translucent areas. We work with green frog tape and flexible Tamiya tape in case you're curious. By the way, I do my best to link all products in the video description. Many of those links are Amazon affiliate links, so you actually support us if you're using them. Thank you! And I wonder, does it make sense to you that Benny painted the area around the runes next? Anyway, more tape. And after mixing some colors from scratch, it was time for the purple blade. As you can guess, matching this shade perfectly was super important as it sets the main look of the blade. Benny could be lazy here and apply the same purple to the spikes, but they had to be slightly more red. See the difference? And finally, this area got taped over as well. I indeed placed more and more tape, and we basically worked through all shades of the weapon. Airbrush painting is definitely faster than painting with brushes, but applying all the tape takes a lot of extra time at the end. ready for the very last color. Here Benny first brushed on a bright silver and added then a darker shade which he instantly wiped off. This way he gave the blade an ancient and weathered look and was able to highlight the scratches I dremeled in previously. So far so good. Now for the last part, getting rid of all the tape. This moment is just as exciting as it's scary. After all, we never know if the paint underneath is fine and wasn't damaged by the tape. That's why we keep the tape on for a maximum 12 hours, and even then we might still need to fix spots here and there. But the result turned out almost perfect. Finally, Benny painted on some last details, darker edges and brighter shades, and I actually forced him to apply a few brighter lines to match the iconic, cartoony, almost dull shady look of World of Warcraft. And he was like, "No, please don't make me do that. I hate those lines. I want to make it nice and pretty and show everyone how clean I can paint." And I was like, "No, make it pink, make it bright. And all those lines like those graphics from 2005. Let's say he wasn't too happy, but it turned out very nice and exactly how I wanted. Last but not least, it was time to apply a few layers of protective satin spray varnish. And finally, I cut some fake leather, finished the edges and weaved on an elaborate cover for the grip. It's the little details that count, right? Well, and after around 5 days of work, this is the result. Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire from World of Warcraft was finished. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I think
Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire
is actually a great example that shows you that you can create amazing weapons and props out of simple EVA foam and relatively easy tools. And yeah, it was a super fun project, and if you want to build your very own blade
of the Black Empire,
you can just download the blueprint on our website kamuicosplay.com. Also, let us know if you have any questions and just write us a comment. And if you don't know what to write, please support us with the mysterious YouTube algorithm by writing Corgi and joining the Corgi Squad. And if you want to learn how to install animated LEDs yourself, just like these ones here, please check out my YouTube tutorial here. And as always, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And also consider to support us on Patreon. Other than that, see you very soon in the next video. Bye bye!